Our agenda today, or what we want to cover today, is GTM, right? Which is, I would say, one of the key aspects of product management that nobody really knows about until they start seriously thinking about product management, right? We all think about product development, product research, right? A bunch of things, but product management is also a very, very key aspect of a product manager's journey, which we will talk about a little bit today, right? A lot of amazing products, right, face uh, the challenges not because the product is not amazing, right, but because the go-to-market game is not as strong. As a result, what happens is sometimes even some of the best of the products do not succeed, and sometimes even certain mediocre products end up gaining a lot of market share, mind share from the users, right? So even if it is a mediocre product, they get launched, they get a lot of mind share, right? And if the company is able to move very quickly on improving the features of that product, they're able to sustain as well, right? The reverse is also true. If you're building a bad product, you're doing a lot of marketing, it also dies out faster, right? So GTM actually has a huge role to play when it comes to making a product successful, apart from actually building a product that actually solves problems for its customers, right? All right. Next question. Imagine that you have a time machine which can take you back to any iconic product launch in history. Which product launch would you choose and why? And the one which I think is one of the most popular ones is by Steve Jobs, 2007, when he launched the first iPhone, right? Steve Jobs is a master marketeer, right? So he also happens to be a product management professional that rose up to become a CEO. But some of his key skills include thinking really, really big, and also being able to create a huge, he's also known for innovation, which is what Apple in general is also known for. But apart from that, he could create really amazing, product launches. And in fact, one of the gentlemen that I've worked with in the past actually worked with Steve Jobs when this particular iPhone was launched, and he would mention, right, in some of the meetings how Steve Jobs spent so many days perfecting the pitch that he delivered on 2007 launching this particular iPhone, right? So we'll take a quick glimpse at a 4-minute video of that launch. I think a lot of you might have already seen it, but just for others who have not, let's take a quick look at how Steve Jobs positioned iPhone during that launch. So over to a video.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Macro 2007 keynote address.
So thank you. Thank you for coming. We're going to make some history together today. This is a day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years. Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. And Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate if you get to work on just one of these in your career. Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh. It didn't just change Apple, it changed the whole computer industry. 2001, we introduced the first iPod. And it didn't just change the way we all listen to music. It changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products of this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. And here it is. There we go, right there. And to unlock the phone, I just take my finger and slide it across. Boom. And this is the home screen of iPhone right here.
All right. So, hope you guys enjoyed looking at how Steve Jobs launched iPhone, right? And of course, it was an amazing product, right? When the entire industry, take Nokia, take BlackBerry, were moving towards increasing the number of keys on the keypad. Steve Jobs and Apple was actually thinking about how can they utilize that remaining 40% of the phone where the keys are and turn it into a giant screen, which everybody can use, right? But I think the key is all great products become great not just because of how good the products are, but also how great the marketing is, right? And if you look at Steve Jobs' pitch, you will see how he could take a very, very complex idea and then within 3 to 4 minutes, get the room so excited. You can see the energy in the room, about launching the phone, right? So that is only one aspect of GTM, but I just wanted to kick us off with this particular video. Cool. So let's get started, right? So I think what I'm going to explain you now is something that I've already spoken about, right? GTM is go-to-market, which we are talking about, and we will come to what is the definition, what is it all about, etc. But I'm just building up, our journey towards it, right? It's all about how do you market and how do you take the product in the market, Elias, right? So if you think about great businesses, what are they really based on, right? And I'm talking about product business, of course, not traditional pop and mom businesses. So they're based on 2 things, right? One is a great product. You cannot have a great business built on a subpar or a mediocre product, right? You absolutely need a great product, and which is where you need great product managers, great engineering teams, finding out the right challenge that you need to solve for the customer, and building it right, iterating quickly. All of those things are part of product management, right? So that is absolutely necessary. But apart from that, what's also super important is great marketing and branding, right? So branding is a little bit of a tangential aspect, which we'll not focus on today. But if you think about an organization like Apple, and if you think about the price of the product or the value that the logo carries, it's huge, right? So let me ask this group, if a company were selling a 150,000 iPhone, same exact amount of features, it just doesn't have the Apple logo, what is the price you would pay for that phone? Can we get some numbers on the chat? 25,000, okay. All right, 50,000, right? 30, 40,000, right? So roughly about, okay, Elias would pay 1 lakh, which is amazing, right? So roughly about, mostly in the range of 40 to 50,000 is what this group thinks, right? And you're absolutely right. To manufacture an Apple phone, Apple actually spends about 30 to 40% of the price that we end up paying, right? The rest of the money is the brand money, right? But that takes time to build, right? I can't come in as a new organization and say that I'm going to charge a premium on the product, right? So that is definitely one aspect. And great brands are again built through two things: great products and great marketing, right? So the aspect that we are going to focus on in today's discussion is going to market, which is all about how do you take an amazing product and put it in the hands of the right individuals, send them the right message, find them on the right channels, and then market the product, right? So GTM is all about doing that, right? So it's marketing plus a little bit more, and we'll talk about what those little bit of more things are as well, right? So Jack Butcher, who's also a master marketer, says this, right? This essentially to differentiate between what is product and marketing, right? So product is what you believe, right? As a product manager, what you believe. Marketing is about how do you get it to other people to believe it, right? Now, like I mentioned, great businesses, and this quote reiterates that, is built on great products as well as great marketing, right? Now, there is another part to this, right? So if we remove great product from the equation, and if we just have great marketing, it doesn't result in a great business, right? And we have had some examples in history which has proven this, right? One of the historical examples for this is Windows Vista. When Windows Vista was launched, Microsoft actually considered it one of their most revolutionary products, and they spent millions of dollars doing GTM, right? They did ads, they did conferences, they worked with channel partners, they integrated the software in their devices, launched them, etc., right? But despite that, of course, because of this GTM, the product saw a huge sales initially, right? But eventually, the product started failing because of performance issues, right? One of the largest challenges with a Windows Vista software was that it would not work with, lower configuration hardware, which everybody already had. So if somebody had to use a Windows Vista properly, they would have to upgrade to a higher version of the software, right? And then there were other performance challenges. So great marketing, not so great product, did not work very well, right? So essentially, both of these things are super important. But you can see how great marketing could still give them a lot of sales initially, and then it started dying down, right? So like this quote states, build a great product, but also build a great marketing so that you can make people believe in your product and use it, right? So now let's talk about what is GTM strategy, right? So this is broadly, one of the closest definitions that I could come to from a GTM strategy perspective, which talks about everything that is included in GTM, right? So if I haven't spoken about earlier, GTM stands for going to market, right? It is how you take a product to the market, right? So GTM is the art of introducing a product in the market, identifying the appropriate audience, timing, pricing, and effectively conveying the product's value proposition in a way that is easily comprehensible and encourages adoption by potential customers, So there are a bunch of things that is mentioned here which GTM needs to include, right? It is the appropriate audience. How do you find the right audience that you will go and pitch your product to, right? A product could have different segments. For example, if it is a Mercedes car, you might have a high earning individual who buys the car. You could also have a few individuals who are enthusiastic, who don't earn as much, but still would buy the car, right? But there is a specific segment that Mercedes targets, right? Which in a GTM world is called as an ideal customer profile, right? So that is super important when it comes to a GTM, right? Finding the right audience to go and target, because GTM costs money and you want to focus your money on those individuals who will give you the largest conversion in terms of the product, right? Timing and pricing are important, right? What kind of a market are you introducing your product to? For example, Netflix, right? Netflix was super popular in the US, but when Netflix was introduced in India, it did not do very well. And the reason why it did not do very well was a couple of things from the product standpoint, but a main reason for that was also pricing, right? So pricing is also important when you're introducing a product in the market, right? So that is also part of GTM. And then effectively conveying the product's value proposition, right? What does value proposition mean? I think all of us are aware, but in a nutshell, it means how can I very easily talk about the product to the ideal customer profile in a way that they easily understand and grasp what the product is for, right? So for example, if I'm selling a Mercedes to an individual, right? They don't care about how much is the mileage of the car, right? Or things like that. They would care about luxury. They would care about exclusivity, right? But when you're selling a Tata car, right? You would actually start worrying about, or a Suzuki car, right, which is less than 10 lakhs. You would actually pitch it based on the mileage that it provides, right? Because the segment cares about that. So all of those things, the positioning, etc., is super important when it comes to GTM strategy. So let's talk about an example of a B2B product, which is Salesforce. So Salesforce, for those of you who are not aware, I think most of us must be aware of it, but it is the leader in building CRM or customer relationship management products, right? These are products which are used by salespeople in order to track their leads, convert them into actual opportunities, right? A lot of B2B companies actually do their sales via salespeople, right? So these are sales-heavy companies like software organizations like Microsoft Azure, AWS, Windows. All of these are pretty sales-heavy organizations, right? So whenever you need to sell to a business, you need sales, and Salesforce creates softwares which help salespeople automate and track all of their sales processes, right? Now, a company like Salesforce, in order to launch their product, right, they don't generally do a lot of B2C marketing that you would see on a daily basis, right? Like, for example, they wouldn't hire an Amitabh Bachchan or a celebrity to launch a sales cloud or a marketing cloud, right? But there is still a lot that goes behind in order to create a huge, vibrant ecosystem, so that whenever they're creating the products, they can get it into the hands of the right population, right? So if you think about Salesforce, they are building products for salesmen, right? And what is crucially important for them is to find out where and how can I popularize my product and reach out to the salespeople, right? So they do a bunch of different things, right? So one is they've created a community, right? So if you go to Salesforce community, for example, right, they have enabled a huge group of community people who will come, and they themselves are proponents and advocates of Salesforce, right? So they will come and engage, they'll help each other in people who are using Salesforce. make them aware of the benefits of Salesforce or certain products, etc., solve each other's questions, right? So they found a very interesting way in which they can market some of their products through their community users, right? Apart from that, they also create a lot of thought leadership material, right? So Salesforce is a leader in quality in sales material building, but they also go and build a lot of content around sales, right? So even if you're not a user of Salesforce, when you go and search for a sales related material, you will find some content, right? That will land you to Salesforce's website, and that will sort of take you inside their products and make you aware of their products, right? So a very, very key, crucial, go-to-market strategy that Salesforce utilizes whenever they launch their products, right? They have a world-class sales team. Salesforce is a sales-led organization, which means there are salespeople, they have the right tactics. So whenever they launch a product, they would reach out to their existing customers or find new customers, explain them what the product is about, and do sales. They also do multi-channel marketing, right? So they would also do ads. They would not do an ad on TV, right? Or they would not sell an ad on an IPL, right? But they would do ads where they find the right customers, right? So they would go to LinkedIn, find out who are the right salespeople, and show them ads. They're also known for clear communication and branding, which is key for most of the GTMs, right? They have a huge partner ecosystem as well, right? So Salesforce virtually cannot make the kind of money that they make if they were only selling by themselves, right? They actually have a vibrant ecosystem of a lot of other sellers that sell on behalf of Salesforce, right? So somebody might be selling to a JP Morgan, somebody might be selling to an Accenture, right? Salesforce can't do all of these sales, right? So they bring in a huge community of partner ecosystem that does these sales for them, right? And that's a very thought through process of how they take their products to the market. They also do a lot of product-led growth, right? Which is also one of the key aspects of GTM, right? As a consumer, especially if you're a consumer who's paying thousands or multi-$1,000 or sometimes even $100,000 and more for a software, you would want to understand how helpful is the product for you before you start using the product, right? And that is where some of the product-led growth tactics come in, where they would introduce trials, they would introduce demos, which allow the B2B businesses to use the product before they can go and launch it, right? And the other thing which Salesforce, by the way, specializes in, and it's known in the B2B industry, SaaS industry, is for their events, right? The quality of the events that they do. And you guys can go and Google Dreamforce, right? Which is their annual event, right? Many other B2B companies also have their annual events, right? So for example, AWS is reInvent, a couple of other companies have other kind of events, Atlassian has Team, but Salesforce is considered to be a leader in terms of how they conduct their events, get the right customers in the room for a couple of days, and really do their drum beating around all new products, all new features that they're building, get them super excited, and convert them into sales over a couple of months, quarters, etc. Right? So that's an example of an organization which does very, very compelling GTM when it comes to B2B products. So coming to what are the key elements of a GTM strategy, right? So some of this we have already spoken, but just to bring it from a definition perspective, what are the different things that you care about when you do GTM, right? So first, like we mentioned, you focus on who's your ideal user persona, right? In a GTM world, it is called as ICP, or ideal customer persona. So you find out who's the right audience, create the right message for them, and then go and target them, right? Then there's messaging and positioning. How do you create the right value proposition? How do you explain your customers what is the value that your product brings, right? Generally, when you're building a product, it could have various capabilities, right? For example, if you take a WhatsApp has chats, WhatsApp has video calling, WhatsApp has stories which can keep you abreast of what your friends and relatives are doing. WhatsApp has groups, right? But if you really think about the key value proposition, or if WhatsApp were to create ads, they wouldn't go and create ads for all of these, ancillary value propositions that they have, right? Their key value proposition is give you an ecosystem where all your friends and family are on a single network and you can chat with them without having to spend any money, right? Just over the internet. That's the key value proposition. And that's super important when you're marketing a product, right? Finding out those 1, 2, 3 key things which resonate the most with your customers and go and really talk about those to your customers, right? So yeah, that's what is key when it comes to messaging and positioning. All right. Then the other aspect is pricing, right? So we spoke a little bit about it from a Netflix standpoint, but pricing is an aspect of go-to-market that we cannot ignore at all, right? And there are various pricing plays that the companies do, right? Some companies do something called as skimming pricing, right? Where they keep the price pretty high of the product, and they try to capture only a certain segment in the industry, right? Can you guys think of some products such as those, where the price is super high and the target is a very small segment of the iPhones, right? Ferraris, any luxury, Louis Vuitton, right? These are all examples of products which charge a premium on their products, and they are not in the business of finding a huge consumer segment, right? They are focused on a very limited segment. So that is called as skimming pricing, right? Similarly, there are companies which will actually charge very less on the products and make sure they can acquire a huge market segment, right? And their play is essentially in volume, right? So their profit margins are super less, but the way they actually become successful is by playing a volume game, right? So all great examples that are coming here, right? Jio, Reliance, these are all great examples of this kind of a pricing, which is called as penetration pricing, right? Sometimes these companies also play as loss leaders, right? Where they operate on losses, and then they would, grab the market, and then suddenly, once people are dependent on their products, they would, sometimes raise the prices, right? So that's the difference of pricing strategies that companies play, right? Skimming, penetration, and then there are certain companies that are in between as well, right? Who are not doing skimming, who are not doing penetration, right? Now I'll leave you guys with a thought on pricing, and then we will move on. If you think about 3 of the companies which have so far in the world reached close to a $1 trillion valuation, Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft, right? If you look at these 3 companies, you will understand that all these 3 have actually very different pricing models, right? So Apple plays on skimming. Amazon, e-commerce, right, is plays on penetration pricing, right? And then Microsoft is somewhere in between, right? It's neither as expensive as an Apple, nor is it playing in the most economical segments, right? So 3 companies, super different pricing models, but super successful in their own fields and reaching close to $1 trillion valuation, right? So they have found out where they want to play, who their customers are, and then really fix the pricing around it to get their game going, right? So pricing is super important again when it comes to creating a great go-to-market strategy, right? The next thing is marketing and sales plans, right? Now, generally, when we think about any product or any organization, they are one of 2 types, right? Either they are marketing heavy or they are sales heavy. If you consider any product which is low cost and is generally a B2C product, those products are generally more marketing heavy, right? For example, take the example of Colgate. Or take the example of a t-shirt that you buy, right? You will never have a salesperson calling you and telling you that, hey, buy my toothpaste, right? Or buy my t-shirt, right? They will generally rely on marketing, right? So they will do ads, they will do digital ads, Instagram ads, newspaper ads, and things like that, right? So these companies are very, very marketing heavy. On the other hand, um, there are companies which are sales heavy, which are generally for higher value purchases, right? So take the example of enterprise software, right, which is super expensive, takes a lot of time in terms of decision making, right? They wouldn't do a lot of marketing. They still do some marketing, but mostly rely on salespeople to sell the product, right? So again, when you're doing a GTM, depending on the type of product that you are launching, it is important for you to determine what kind of a GTM strategy you want to follow, and then prep your marketing team or sales team in order to take the product to the market and have the right messaging, right? So a lot of work goes on in terms of working with the marketing team and the sales team in terms of creating the plan when you're launching a product, right? Now, question to this group again is, can you think of a product which is both sales and which require both sales and marketing, right? Any examples that you guys can think of? Cars, right? Very good. So cars is actually a good example of products which rely on both sales as well as marketing, right? The reason for that is it is still a B2C product, right? But it is a high value product, right? So you don't, it's not that you buy a car every day, right? So it still is a decision that you need some time to ponder upon and then make an informed choice, right? So whenever there is a reason for you to think through something, whenever it's a high value thing, you would generally utilize a sales strategy as well, right? Then the next one is channel selection. So channel essentially, if some of you are from marketing on sales, it essentially means where will you reach your target segment, right? So took the example of LinkedIn, right? If you want to publish something about a software product for salespeople, you will not go and market that on Facebook, right? Because the audience that is on Facebook is very different, right? You would go to LinkedIn, target the right audience on LinkedIn, and then sell the products to that audience, right? Similarly, if you were selling a toothpaste, right? Or if you were selling, let's say, a gaming app on Google Store, right? Like Jungle Run or something else, right? You wouldn't go to LinkedIn and put your ad, right? So you would have to find where your audience is and really go there and publish and publish your ads or publish your marketing material, right? So that is what channel selection is all about, right? And I think through all of these things, one of the important things to remember is there are several things that you can do in order to take your product to market, make sure it reaches the right audience, etc. But you're always limited in terms of money, time, efforts, right? So you'll have to ensure that wherever you're investing, you're getting the highest bang for the buck, the highest return on investment, right? So which is where having a very tight GTM strategy becomes super important, right? So there are terms which we'll not go very deep into, right? But which are very core to product management, like a customer acquisition cost. What is the amount of money that you need to spend in order to acquire a customer, right? And how do you over a period of time get that down, right? So all of that is again part of your GTM strategy, right? And finally, there's launch timing, right? So all of those things are key important steps that we need to take care of when it comes to GTM. All right. So let's very quickly again skim through Spotify as a B2C product, right? How is it different from Salesforce when it comes to marketing strategies, right? So I'll probably take another 5 to 7 minutes talk through this, and then we can wrap up and take questions, right? So Spotify, we spoke about some of these things, right? ICPs, messaging, positioning, marketing channels, etc. Right? So there's a stark difference between how Salesforce as a B2B product would do marketing versus Spotify, which is a B2C product, would do marketing, right? So initially, when Spotify had launched, most of the people listen to pirated music, right? They would go to some of the pirated places, download MP3s, load it on their, devices, and then, listen to music, right? There was also there's also a lot of push at that point to move away from piracy, and that is where Spotify actually targeted that audience, where initially they targeted music enthusiasts who were frustrated with piracy and traditional music, right? So that is how Spotify actually launched themselves. It was not a product that was launched for everybody. But over a period of time, it's been several years that, more than 10 years that Spotify has been in business. They've actually expanded to broader geographical, broader demographics, right? Including casual listeners as well, right? So that's how, when they launched the product, they did not create it for everybody, but they targeted the right audience. And over a period of time, several customer segments started getting added in, right? So it also started as a English music channel, but from their GTM perspective, they wanted to go beyond English speaking geographies, right? So they had to bring in a lot of regional music in, right? So if you look at the mix now in India, it's not just Hindi, right? But they have several languages brought in into their mix, right? Which makes it pretty dynamic and gives them the opportunity to grow, right? But started with a very core segment of customers and then made the product successful and then expanded, right? So that is key when it comes to launching a product. Then there's messaging and positioning, right? So positioned it as a go-to platform for legal and convenient music streaming. People who did not want to worry about piracy, having to clean up their phone again because they've downloaded virus, things like that, right? So they emphasized on that, emphasized on a huge on-demand access to vast music libraries with personalized recommendations, right? So that is how they position. From a marketing perspective, again, I think all of us are aware of some parts of marketing that they do, right? So they market on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Google Ads, right? They also do a lot of influencer partnerships, right? So you can see some of the ads that they've created for India, right? So in India, they are, they bring in influencers like Darshan Rawal, Neeti Mohan, right? Who have a lot of followers when it comes to music, and then really bring them in to get in more audience into the products, right? There are other payment mechanisms or which they also use in order to market their product. For example, one of the key things, in fact, about Spotify is their premium models, right? Where they have a mechanism to make money on their free subscriptions as well. Right? So there is free trials with ads, and at the same time, they also have the ability for those who don't want to listen to ads, go to premium upgrades, right? And then they also have a user community which they've now started building, right? So they are encouraging a lot of new content creators to come in and create content, do social sharing, right? Spotify Wrapped is one of their viral engagement platforms that they've also, a viral engagement campaign that they've also created, right? Where Spotify actually shows, how much music or what kind of music have you listened to, and essentially, you can then share it with your group of friends or on your social media, right? Which brings in more customers internally to Spotify, right? So they are building this huge user community around that as well, right? And then there's global expansion, which I already spoke about, right? Local music preferences, new countries, partnerships with the right telecom providers, like an Airtel or a Reliance, right? Packaging it so that people can use it for free for a couple of months, get the benefits or understand the benefits of the product, and then either become paid customers or at least continue to use it for free, where Spotify can earn from ads, right? So these are all several different kinds of things that, just some examples, but of course there are many companies which use various kinds of mechanisms in order to do a go-to-market, right? So we've all seen what GTM is, but GTM is actually an effort from a large number of teams, right? But it is predominantly driven by the product manager and another role called as product marketing managers, right? Who are working hand in glove when a product is getting launched, right? So they're responsible for ensuring that the right message goes out to the right customers through the right channels. And that's super important when it comes to a GTM, right? Which is why it becomes very crucial as a product manager as well to understand what are the key aspects to know when it comes to GTM, right? Now, there are a few other roles that are also involved in this. Content creators, right? Content creators are essentially creating content, whether it is video content, ad content, emails, blogs, thought leadership articles, right? So you need these teams to ensure that the right kind of content is created from a publicity or a go-to-market standpoint. The sales teams. So if you are a sales-led organization, you prepare the sales teams, educate them about the product so that they can go and further talk about your product to different customers and bring them in, right? Then there is customer support team, right? Customer support is also super important. The day the product gets launched, once the consumers start using the products, they will have a lot of customer queries, right? And you want to ensure that when the customers reach out for support, they get the right experience, right? Otherwise, you will acquire a lot of customers, but you will lose them because of bad customer experience, right? And if you think about it, customers are just one bad customer experience away from actually churning from the product, right? So enabling the customer support is also super important. Data analysts, right? Another important key role, right? They help in a few things. One is they help you understand how the product is being used, right? Where are my customers going the most? But they also help you in terms of GTM strategies, right? Which marketing is making the most amount of money, right? Which channel should I follow the most? Should I use Instagram to put paid ads, or should I focus on search engine optimization? Should I, involve a celebrity and create ads, right? Which channel actually gives me the most amount of conversion when it comes to using my marketing budget, right? And then there are finance and pricing analysts who are consistently working on figuring out what is the right price point, right? If I've launched something in Bangalore at a certain price point, does it make sense for me to launch the same price in a different geography, like an Ahmedabad or a tier 3 city, right? Or if I want to expand outside of India, how do I price my product, right? When do customers want to buy more, and what kind of discounting can I provide, et cetera, right? So all of these teams come together to make sure the GTM is successful, right? And all of this, by the way, is after you've built a great product, right? So product management doesn't just stop when you build the great product, right? You also need to take care of all of these aspects to make sure you have a very successful business, right?